Ever been in a relationship with someone and you thought maybe they have narcissism, maybe they have borderline personality, maybe they have bipolar, it all checks out, but there's no official diagnosis? I want to answer this question, but it ties into an update with my son's dad. I just found out through a lawyer that I'm talking to that my son's dad is a diagnosed narcissist, diagnosed bipolar with hypomania, which essentially means he's high functioning bipolar. His manic episodes are really short, they're not extreme, and he has intermittent explosive disorder. Towards the end of my relationship with him, I was doing so much research trying to figure this out because I was like, there's got to be something with him. He was a professional athlete for 10 years and head injury, head trauma is a thing. I forget the term for it, but there's a word for it. Football players get it when they get their head rocked too many times. They can develop certain psychiatric disorders, and I was like, what's going on with him? Something is up. It's not that he's just abusive. It's not that he's just mean. It's not that he has childhood trauma. I was like, there is something, and I was convinced that he was a narcissist. The thing with narcissism specifically, it's hard to get a diagnosis because these people don't have the ability to introspect or self-reflect, and their ego will not allow them to accept the fact that they actually might have some sort of personality disorder and get help. So it's really hard with that. He would just flip this switch. He would go from 0 to 100. My sister is also bipolar, so I felt like I had a lot of personal experience. But when you don't have an actual diagnosis, it's hard because it's just you going off of whatever you think. So I just got that, and it settled into me, and I realized that I knew that all along, but I didn't have the official diagnosis. And so if you're someone who is with someone or who has been with someone and you've thought something, even if you don't have any official diagnosis, please trust your intuition with that. If you go to my Single Mamas playlist, you can see I've posted updates here and there about what's going on with my son's dad. But to answer this question, yes, I still have my son. He's 14 months old. He's learning to walk. He's got teeth coming in. Dad is not involved whatsoever. For 10 months, I tried to get him to take a paternity test, but he was changing his permanent mailing address to different counties. And then I came to the conclusion after talking with a friend in law enforcement and with a lawyer that I wanted him out of my life for the safety of myself and for my son. So Dad is not involved in any capacity whatsoever. And something that happened recently, a couple weeks ago, he was at a court date because he is facing 30 to 60 days in jail right now for not paying child support for 7 years. As they were leaving, the lawyer who's representing his ex-wife says to him, "Hey, I heard you had a baby with Jesse. Congrats, it's a boy. What's that boy? A little over a year now." And they said the look on his face was in total shock. And he's like, how do you know Jesse? How do you know about this baby? Well, it's not my baby. He got really defensive. The lawyer said something like, I just know. And then they were walking to their cars in the parking lot, and my son's dad turns to this lawyer and says, if I claim this baby, as in my son, he says, if I claim this baby, then my ex-wife is going to get less child support, which, first of all, that's not how it works in Minnesota, but he can continue to be delusional and think whatever he wants. And the lawyer says to him, half of nothing is still nothing. And he didn't have a rebuttal from that because he hasn't paid anything for 7 years. The first thing I thought of when I heard this was that is very typical of him. It's very typical of narcissists, people with bipolar disorder. They convince themselves of something, and they're so wrapped up in their delusion that they believe that. It's a simple solution. If he's convinced that he's not the dad, then why doesn't he just take a paternity test? But he still hasn't, because he knows that he's the dad, but in his mind he's convinced himself that I was cheating on him and he's the victim and whatever. It's actually just really sad. I think, which parts of him did I love? Did I love the parts of him that were healthy when I actually saw, like, that's you, there you are in there? And then I just had to deal with the bipolar, the intermittent explosive disorder, which was very scary. It's a mind fuck when you love someone with a mental illness. It's even more sad when narcissists are made. Sometimes bipolar can develop. Sometimes you're born with it, but sometimes it just develops because of trauma. I know that he will never seek help. I know that he will never get better. And after all this, I still wish him the best. And I just got to this place where I actually do genuinely wish him the best, because he is so self-destructive. He is ruining his own life. I want him to get better for himself, away from me, just for himself.